Alright, welcome back to the channel everyone. Hope you're well. In this video we're going to be talking about HEX and more specifically the fact that it looks like a coiled spring and ready to pop off. I'll explain why I think that in this video. We'll cover some of our signature charts on LookIntoHex.com. I'll go over a few updates on one of the chart and we'll go from there. But first of all, I want to start off with this TA. And I'm glad we're making one of these kind of pre-recorded TA videos because the past two videos have been lives, right? They've been live streams. And yeah, as much as I love doing live streams, nothing beats some focused, organized TA and QA. But if you haven't checked out yesterday's live stream with Johnny Chaos, he's actually an early HEX investor and he makes cool videos on Twitter about HEX, little short, digestible, highly marketable snippets, then check that out, definitely, and then come back to this video. But let's start off with some HEX TA, and what I have plotted here is HEX USDC from Uniswap V2, and I used to be able to say the thickest liquidity pair for HEX in the world, but I can't say that anymore because Uniswap V3 actually surpassed Uniswap V2 recently in terms of total value locked, because on V2 we have about 16 to 17 million, right? About $16.6 million locked, and it's symmetrical liquidity, so you have the same on both sides. However, on Uniswap V3 you have a total of about $23 million, so a good amount more, right? A good amount more than half of HEX's liquidity is now on Uniswap V3. So I just wanted to point that out because ideally we would be looking at a front end for this sort of information where we are actually looking at V3, because that would represent, in my opinion, the most accurate price, given that it's the thickest liquidity pool in the world for HEX. However, this is still accurate for our purposes, and you will have arbitrageurs pretty much balance the price across all dexes at the end of the day anyways, so you really will be looking at the accurate data. The only difference will be this one might start having more wicks and being more choppy over time, whereas kind of the smoothness might transition over to a Uniswap V3 chart. So just to get that out of the way, we will be looking at Uniswap V2. And what do we see here? Well, I have plotted the 100-day exponential moving average because it'll come into play in a little analysis I want to do shortly. But let's talk about the obvious fact that what I'm saying, it looks like we're a coiling spring, right? A spring that's coiled and ready to pop. Because if you take this measured bull flag from the candle body down here at about 10.9 cents of our recent dip here on August 6th, August 7th, to the recent move before this sort of consolidation, then it puts us at a target of about 27 cents. And remember that we've doubled our technical targets in the past multiple times, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see price actually end up within a range, right? Anywhere from 27 cents to maybe 54 cents. And look at that consolidation. It's just coiling. This is textbook consolidation. Like on a line chart, you can tell even more. Beautiful little wedge here. It looks like a symmetrical wedge. It looks ready to pop, in my opinion. Now, I have no clue what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball, although I've been accused of having a crystal ball behind this chair. I assure you I do not. It looks good in my opinion. The reason I brought up this moving average is because I noticed this mini fractal that could be playing out. I've pointed this out in a previous video only once, so I wanted to touch on it again. And it's this. And I've described it as a sort of ABC correction. So this is our famous sort of ABC correction. All right, let's make this a better color. You can actually see and doesn't just blend in. And let's increase the thickness of it. Boom, much better. So you can see this ABC correction that more or less found support on this 100-day EMA, right? We had some chop, a little fake out beneath it, and then a little bit of chop beneath it over here. But for the most part, it was nice, a nice support region, right? And then after that, we had our move that took us above our previous high, back down a little bit on our previous resistance zone of about 1.37 to 1.5 cents, and then it was blast off. And this region over here we talked about was huge support. It was horizontal support as well as trend line support, exponential regression support. So this was a huge signal in my opinion. This was a great entry point, and you can look back on the videos. I was saying this. So why am I pointing out this over here? Well, because like I said, this could be a mini fractal playing out. If you ignore this large wick that happened, because it happened super quickly, then I personally see this formation playing out where you have your sort of ABC correction. You have a peak where the top of this B wave did not reach this way, the top of, where the move started. Right? And that's obvious in an ABC correction, but in this kind of ABC correction, then it's not as obvious, but you can still see that it did the same over here. Not only that, we had our sort of double bottom, sort of W formation, and what did we do? We wicked down to our 100 EMA. So really good signals, really good, what's the word? Really good confluence in terms of like, this looks like a mini fractal, but what's the interesting part is what happened after, right? That's the interesting part, because we had our move up, which over here, if you look at it, it took us to a high higher than this first high over here, the top of our zero wave. And then we found support, like I said, and it was off to the races. So I would not be surprised if we saw something play out similar to that. Now, you could say this move over here that I just got rid of, you could say that's this move right here that we currently had, the pull to this flag that we mentioned. And I guess you could argue that this whole region where we had a little dip back down to support, it doesn't have to look like that, you guys. Like, fractals can have their own unique little characteristic elements and shapes and whatnot. So what I'm seeing in the charts is that it doesn't necessarily have to do something like that, a falling parallel channel, because at the end of the day, we can have a bull flag where we have our pull, and then we just have flat consolidation. There are different types of bull flags, right? This is just one of them. Again, you have your pull, and then you have your falling parallel channel. That's one type of bull flag. Another one would be you have your pull, and instead of a falling parallel channel, you just have a symmetrical wedge, right? Where price action happens in a symmetrical wedge with kind of, you have a high, you have a low, then you have a lower high, higher low, and it kind of squeezes until you have it break. So this to me looks like it looks like it's squeezing, it looks like a coiled spring, and it looks like it could break. Again, if you look at it on a line chart, it's even more clear. I can give you actual numbers because that's what we want, right? 18.97 cents. And we had our low of about 17.5 cents. And guess what? We had a lower high, 18.8 cents, and we had a higher low to the 17.5, which is about a 17.9. And it looks like it rounded out a little bit at a little lower high, and I mean, it just looks coiled. Like, this just looks coiled and ready to burst. And the fact that it's really clean, sustainable consolidation above previous all-time highs, like, this is looking good to me. That's all I can say, man. This is looking really good to me. It like similar to over here, right? When you have clean consolidation right above all-time highs. It wasn't actually above all-time highs, it was close, which I guess gives more credence to this even. But yeah, you could argue this is a mini fractal of what played out over here. Now, after we consolidated, what happened? We went from about 1.37 cents all the way to about 6.8 cents, I think it was. It was a nice 5x. Every time I've checked, it's about, yep, 4.94x. So we can just say 5x to keep it nice and rounded. So if we saw 5x from here, you already know what it is. You can multiply 18 cents by 5, it's 90 cents. I guess if you round to breaking out around 20 cents, you're talking about $1, right? So now we're finally eyeballing dollars with this mini fractal. You could argue, I guess, that this was a bigger formation than this one. And so, like I've said, this is a mini fractal, so it might not play out the exact same way. But you never know. You never know. Technical target, bull flag, 27 cents. Bullish target in that same model, 54 cents, because we've doubled in the past. So 27 to 54. If you look at this fractal and you say it's going to play out exactly the same, then you're looking at about 90 cents to $1. But, I mean, anything can happen, right? Yeah, anything can happen. Looks good to me. I'll just continue to say that. Like, I'll call it how I see it. If it didn't look good to me, I probably wouldn't say anything like, I wouldn't try to FUD down the price, obviously, but I would say, you know what, like, wait, it could be some time. We don't have to go straight up. I do my best to, you know, provide the most transparent data on HEX. So it's hard to be bearish, right? I don't like being bearish on HEX. Don't make me be bearish, right? Keep this chart looking beautiful so I don't have to say I expect a dip. I don't want to be that guy. But I mean, things look good to me now. I like the fact that we're consolidating above all-time highs. Looks really nice, especially on a line chart. I like to see it. It looks like a mini fractal of what played out back here. And again, this doesn't have to play out the exact same way as in a falling parallel channel. It could just be this sort of flat wedge consolidation before a continued move. And we'll see where it takes us from there. But the targets are generally to the upside. All right. If you want to look at some downside risk, then I would probably look at the weekly and get rid of all this and see where the weekly closes over here, where resistance at about 14.7 cents. So if you were looking at downside targets, then I guess 14.7 cents would be a region of support if we didn't hold something like these moving averages, which are about 16 to 16.5 cents. So I would expect these to provide some support, hopefully. They generally tend to be support in an uptrend, right? We rarely break beneath them unless it's been sort of a kind of elongated consolidation period. I say elongated because we're spoiled in HEX, but this is really just like a few weeks. But for the most part, this holds kind of nicely in an uptrend, if you can tell, right? Few regions where we actually close beneath it, and those have been good buying opportunities. So even if we were to close beneath it, right, these 16 to 16.5 cents, then I would say it's a great opportunity to buy if we were to go there. No guarantees we'll go back there, right? No guarantees we'll go back there. But if we did, I would consider it a very strong buy signal, right? The whole 14 and above cent region, 14 to like 16, 17 cents, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. But let's get rid of some of this stuff and look at some of the quantitative charts, right? Our signature charts on LookIntoHex.com. First link in the description. So our regression rainbow looks good. The equidistant one, we're sitting nicely above yellow, where yellow is currently at around 16 cents. So that's, I guess you could say that's another level of support if you think yellow will be support. I mean, we've done that in the past, right? But actually on our Fibonacci. So let's cover the Fibonacci regression one. Oh, before we do that, let's look at the extension from FIT, right? We're following and tracking ETH pretty nicely. We've covered this in the past, so go ahead and check those videos out. But our Fibonacci space model, it looks like we are consolidating around yellow. So this looks good. I mean, we were talking about this fractal a while ago, and I guess it's still in play, man. Like, as long as we're oscillating between orange and yellow on this chart, which we have been, or on this chart up here, we were oscillating around yellow before our move up to pink, then I guess this fractal is still in play, right? Unless we were to break down and start hitting orange and red again, then I would say our fractal is still in play. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's essentially saying a move similar to over here, where we consolidated around yellow for a while before we popped off to pink. So in this case, maybe we pop off to purple or pink, but these levels are pretty high right now. To give you an idea, you can track this for yourself, right? On LookIntoHex.com, just kind of move your cursor like I am. We're looking at 74 cents for the purple level and $1.23 for the pink level. So, I mean, that converges with other targets we have. Looking at this one, like I explained earlier, it looks like it's tracking Ether and its performance relative to its regression rainbow back in its first 2-3 years from launch. And so that would put us, I've covered this in the past, about $2 in October if we track this. Now, if we reached a peak maybe late, like over here, we're talking May of next year, maybe we reach it somewhere in between. So we could be looking at, you know, January, February, or maybe December or April, who knows, right? Anywhere from October to May, I guess, would be the time range during which I wouldn't be surprised to see a move into the pink region, which during that time, right, between October and May of next year, we're looking at anywhere from $2 to what? Made $2 to like $20. So these are some pretty bullish targets, but we're outperforming Bitcoin relative to its launch, and we are outperforming Ether relative to its launch. Now, HEX was designed to be a better Bitcoin. In my opinion, it's doing it. On the HEX versus ETH chart, we added all the historical data, because if you recall, we only had the first like 1,000 or so days for ETH, and I went in and grabbed all the data from Nomics. It took a while, but we got it all, guys, and we have the full historical data of ETH, including its recent peak up to like the 4,000 level, right? And this is ROI from launch, so it won't show ROI from the very, very bottom, so it won't give you that 10,000x, right, from that 15-cent wick, but ROI from launch is a metric that, if it's normalized across all your coins, then it's just a different model. You could do ROI from the bottom. I'm kind of surprised I haven't done that now that I'm thinking about it. ROI from the bottom would be an interesting one to look at. But this is ROI from launch, and you can see that HEX is outperforming, right? At this point in time, Ether was only 28x up from its launch, while HEX right now is up 367x from its launch price. So that looks really good. It's close to Ethereum's lifetime ROI, right? 2225. If you divide that by this, 367, then you're looking at, we're only about a 6 or 7x away from beating Ethereum's lifetime ROI. So that's pretty nuts, given the fact that Ethereum has existed since 2015 and HEX has only existed since 2019, right? If we shift things over a little bit, I like this chart because it just shows the similarity of this recent move and shows the potential, right? At this point in time, Ether was making this macro sort of bullish ascending triangle around the $360 level before it popped off to its blow off top peak at around the $1,500 level. And if HEX did a similar thing, that would mean in about 150 days, so what is it, like 5 months? So I guess you could say by the end of the year or early next year, we could be looking at, a 4x from here, if not more, counting wicks. So we could be talking 80 cents to $1. So, I mean, we're at the point where our technical targets are looking like how soon can we hit $1? As soon as October, in my opinion. As late as something like what? Early next year, according to this model, it would be, right, like I was saying, January, February, and then you're looking at that pink level approaching like $20 next May. So, I mean, if you're not at $1 by the time your model is saying you could be reaching $20, then I don't know, man. Then I would question the validity of my models. So I guess you could say at the most bearish, this is my most bearish, is $1 by May, right? That's my most bearish in terms of how long I think it'll take for HEX to reach $1. Yeah, that's just my take on things. If the chart changes and it starts doing different things, then I'll update my view and say, you know what, I was wrong. But if it continues to do what it's doing, tracking ETH, outperforming Bitcoin, showing all these bullish signals, and from a TA perspective, like, not only that, the narrative is good right now. The narrative is, in my opinion, hold your HEX for at least for the copy, right? At least to get your PHEX, or I know we're not calling it that anymore, but hold your HEX on Ethereum so that when Pulse launches, you get your HEX on Pulse, on that chain, right? On Pulse chain. So we have a good narrative, good technicals, good quantitative signals. I mean, what else can you ask for? And not only that, the community is amazing. You guys are awesome. So I appreciate you watching. Thanks again for all the support. Let's get to 6,000 subs. We are well on our way. I know that when the HEX price starts pumping, the social metrics start going up too. It's just how it is. Subscriber count usually starts growing. Literally, it's correlated to this chart. Which, I mean, hey, I'm not complaining, right? It shows a pretty good chart to be correlated to, if I may say so myself. Appreciate you watching. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy this kind of quantitative, technical, hybrid analysis on HEX, Pulse, and that's pretty much it, right? Those are our favorite coins. And yeah, share the video with someone if you think they will find value in it, if you found value in it, right? Yeah, comment down below suggestions on anything really, like questions, suggestions, feedback. I have some pretty cool stuff I've been working on that I'm not allowed to talk about, by the way. More than like 3 or 4 projects, right? 2 of them are like pretty solid, like 90% chance of happening. 2 of those things. The other 2 are about, one of them is about 70%, I would say, and then the other one might be like 30%. But we have some pretty cool stuff in the works. It sucks that I'm not allowed to talk about like any of them, but hopefully I'll be able to give you some updates soon as to what I've been busily working on. And yeah, that's all I want to say. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.